we're going to do a quick retouch of a headshot of this young actress. Her name is Marla. She was doing a doctor type look, so we're going to do a quick retouch on her and also change up her background just a little bit too. First things first, even no matter how beautiful your subject is, almost everybody has some slight bags under the eyes, so we're going to give you a little method for cleaning up blemishes and bags under the eyes. I'm going to duplicate the layer here first. I'm going to take a push brush. Now my push brush has some very specific settings. It's got a step of 10, density of 100, thickness of 100. Its opacity is set to 20, so it's not, or 30, so it's not going to be doing a whole lot of visible unless you do it multiple times in the same area. So I'm going to take the push brush and just gently, making very short, small strokes, I'm just going to take and I'm going to push some color around. And I'm doing this in a duplicate layer, remember. And just enough to just kind of push color from another part of the face into the area where the bags are under her eyes. I'm also going to take care of this shadow right here, the same method. I'm pushing some of this lighter color up into that. Now I'm going to take this darker and I'm going to pull it across to give her a little more eyeshadow, an eyeshadowing. I'm just going to take it right off the corner right here. And now to give this a more natural look again, remember we did this in a separate layer, we're going to change the opacity of that layer down to about 80%. That brings back some of the detail of the lower layer without bringing it all back so that you don't feel completely retouched. I'm not going to worry about the flyaway hairs because they're going to kind of disappear with the last step we're going to make here. So, got that. We're going to flatten that. Now next we want to enhance her eyes. To enhance her eyes, I'm going to zoom in so you can see what's happening. Advance her eyes, we're going to do the duplicate layer again, but we're going to do it twice. We're going to duplicate the layer and then we're going to duplicate the layer again. Now we're going to select that layer in between. And I'm going to run a sharpness, the high pass sharpen on it. Again, very specific settings. Got a radius of 7. Got a radius of 7, strength of 70. Blend mode is soft light. It's happening in this middle layer, so you won't see anything happen right now visibly because you've got another layer or got another duplicate in front of it. Now all I'm doing is going back to that top layer again. I'm going to take an eraser brush. It's at 100% and very tiny, and I'm just going to erase over the colored part of her eyes. So now the sharp layer we did below is showing through. I can turn that layer off and on to show the difference. It's not a huge difference, it's very subtle, but it brightens up and sharpens up the reflections in her eyes. Then I'm going to take a yellow brush, clicking on that middle layer again, take a yellow paintbrush, 20% opacity, and on soft light. And I'm just going to paint in just a couple of strokes of painting of yellow opposite where the catch light is, and it just lightens up the eyes just a little bit more. Yellow works great with brown eyes, and white is what you'll want to use with just about everybody else. So now I'll turn that layer on and off again. You can see the difference in the eyes. It's a very subtle difference, but you can see the difference. I'll zoom in again so you can see it as well. That's with it on, and that's with it off. It's a very subtle difference, but it does make a difference in the long run. We'll zoom back out. I'm going to flatten all that. And then lastly, what we want to do is change her environment a little bit. We want to give her something other than this white wall behind her. We're going to do that in a fairly tricky way again with layers. We're going to duplicate the layer. You can do this next step any way you want to. We can use the selective tool here for a smart selection brush to try and just select the white areas of the background, which I don't really care for this method that much because it seems like it doesn't work as well as I want it to. I use a plugin called Remask. And this is a Topaz Labs plugin. And what it does is everywhere you paint purple is where you want it to do its interpretations. And everywhere else is going to be either green or red. Red means don't keep it, and green means keep it. doesn't have to be perfect because of what we're going to do next. I'm going to fill in with red out here. I'm going to take that red brush back and I'm going to take out just a bit of this flyaway right here. We're going to just leave it on the cutting room floor. Oops, sorry. I have to compute first. Compute the mask. Again, I don't need it to be perfect, so it's going to be close enough where it is right now. Again, you don't see a change because I've still got a background layer there. Now I'm going to take this background that I've already selected, kind of an office-looking environment, and I'm going to paste it as a new layer in between these two layers. Get my scale brush or scale pick so I can stretch it. I want to blur it a little bit. So we're going to Gaussian blur. I'm going to set it to about 30, I think. Maybe slightly more. Let's go up to 36. Now, very important, I'm going to set that blend mode to screen. Then I'm going to duplicate that. And on the second one, I'm going to set the blend mode to multiply. Now, if I want the background to be lighter in color, I turn down the opacity of the multiply layer. And if I want it to be darker, I'll turn down the opacity of the screen layer. Or turn up the multiply. Either way, I can do that either way. Now I've got a little bit of haloing going around on her. So we're going to fix that now with a eraser brush. We're going to come in here, we're going to change the eraser brush size, and I'm just going to just barely erase around the edge where the halo was. Oops, too much on her shoulder. Gotta start over again because I erased all of it. Now you'll notice where I left off that section of her hair from the foreground layer. I'll turn the background layer off so you can see what I'm talking about. I cut that piece of hair off in the background layer, from the background layer. So now that hair is being blended out by the foreground layer. Now I can continue to get rid of it by clicking on that background layer. I'll go in here with a clone brush, and I'm just going to right click and erase, or clone out that little bit of a extra hair. So now we've changed the background on her. And then finally for her, what I'm going to do is use another plugin called Nik Color Effects. It's now from another company. I forget what the name of the company is, but you can Google it and look for Nik Color Effects or find it on my website. I'm going to use Nik Color Effects. I've got a already set up action that I created called Actor Gold, and I'll show you what it does. Actor Gold. It runs Remove Color Cast on its basic settings. It does a reflector effect of Reflector of Gold. It makes a minor levels and curves adjustment. Just darkens out some of the darks, gives a little more contrast. And then it uses Darken Light and Center, which I'm going to replace the Darken Light and Center to be here instead of over here. And that just that gives me a brighter circle in the middle and darker everywhere else. Gives a little bit of a better light direction, I think, in this case. Click OK. And then we have a finished headshot. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/txheadshots. Thank you.